I know. Good morning. It is a beautiful morning here in our House of Love. Last week we did a new song called House of Love as our inspirational song. It seemed like everybody really liked it because it's just, we're a house of love. We come together to share in this time, to be present in the spirit of love and sharing music, sharing ideas, sharing beliefs, sharing laughter, sharing in meditation, sharing in affirmations, and just sharing in our love for one another and the entire world. Our mission here is to promote love and understanding, compassion on this planet. That's what we're here to do, to serve. So we're going to talk more about that as a part of our greater awakening into a greater reality, which is the subject for today. So welcome to Unity Spiritual Center Georgetown, a spiritual breath of fresh air. I made that up and I can't say it. Anyway, well, the announcements, you know that we're putting together a little study group on the book we just did, The Integral Christianity. I've got most of I'm going to contact you this week, and perhaps we can start the following week. I don't know if we just got back, as you know, from things back home. So I also know that we're having, Alice Cooper's having her a book study. Next month, it's going to be off for one, and we're doing, it was up there a while ago. It was You Are the Universe, Deepak Chopra and some physicist guy. Let me see, what else is there, Liz? Madam President?
New membership.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead. Tippy toe.
Okay, we're going to have a new membership class. Will be August 21st and 28th, immediately following the service. If you are a member of Unity someplace else, then you only have to come on the 28th. If you're new to Unity, we'd like you to attend both sessions. The first one will be an introduction to Unity, and the second one will be about Unity Georgetown. So we'd like to see you there. And then this afternoon, we've got Dan's lovely concert. So we will take a little break right after the service to kind of set things up for him. And start promptly at noon. So you have time to run to the little market down the corner if you need something to eat, and come back, and Dan will start.
And try my birthday cake.
And try his birthday cake. Yeah.
It's amazing.
It's been 2 years in the making, because Therese promised it to him in 2020, and then y'all know what happened, so he didn't get it. And then last month was his birthday, and she didn't get it done, but for the concert, so we're in for a treat.
It's worth the wait.
Yeah, it is. So I hope you all will stay or come back for the concert this afternoon. Thank you. It's going to start right at noon. Okay, so we'll get done here. We're usually done about 11:30, but we're going to kind of try and put some tables up, so if you want to eat, and kind of set the room back up a little bit so that we can go right up till we have to clear out. Okay?
We'll be able to dance, or?
Yeah, we'll have a little room up here for dancing.
I hope you will.
Yeah,
There'll
absolutely.
be a couple of tables just exactly for that.
Yeah. Do we have? Well, I think the bar is sturdier than the tables, actually.
And I do have a special dance song for anyone.
Do the chicken song.
No. We're going to get right down to the gritty part.
Oh, okay.
Did I mention that we come to have fun here as well as learn and grow together spiritually?
Now we know why it's spiritual center and not church.
Yes. If there's anyone here for the first time, if you don't mind just maybe raising your hand, if you'd like to introduce yourself, you may, if you feel comfortable. Tell us where you're from, what got you here, or any things like that. I welcome. Floor is open. Who's first? Well, welcome. You have a welcome package. And was there somebody else? Oh, hi. Go ahead. Oh, hi, Nicole. Did you want to say something, Donna? Of course you can. Come on up. Come on up.
And I want to thank Sally Dare for bringing it to our attention. It helps children with cancer, with an emergency order. I don't know how they make money on it, but they do. So it really is helpful, and I appreciate all of you bringing these and the tabs too. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. If that is all, then let's rise and start with our opening song.
Hold my hand while I run this race. Hold my hand while I run this race. Hold my hand while I run this race. For I don't want to run this race in vain. Stand by me while I run this race. Stand by me while I run this race. Stand by me while I run this race. For I don't want to run this race in vain. Guide my feet while I run this race. Guide my feet while I run this race. Guide my feet while I run this race. For I don't want to run this race in vain.
Where is that? Get behind the microphone so we can hear the people online. Thank you.
I had mentioned before, when other people had been here, that this bowl is over 300 years old. Really. And it is a Tibetan bowl. And when you go back in time, in history, you will find that you will see things that vibrate and make sounds and motion have started sacred rituals or sacred meetings thousands of years. The Buddhists have what's called a prayer wheel. Has anybody ever seen? And it goes around and around. The Sikhs, what do? They twirl and whirl around and around. And one time I was in a lecture, and it was Carl Jung, symbolism, with Joseph Campbell. And they were saying, that God doesn't make anything except round things. It's man that makes squares. And I thought about it for a while, and by golly, try it. It works, doesn't it? And so when I start my own meditation, I usually ring my bowl or do what I'm going to do with you guys in just a minute. And I think about how many thousands of years this has changed consciousness into a more reverent and receptive mode, which is what we're trying to do, right? Because I think at first, sometimes people think it's like a school bell, that we're starting the service, be quiet, sit straight, those kinds of things. And that's not what this bowl's about at all. It's about setting up a level of receptive consciousness. And that's what it's always represented, thousands of years, depending on what it was they were using to make the motions, whether it was their body, or how about how many times have you seen on a petroglyph, what, the nautilus round motion. So I'm just trying to help us realize how sacred things are, even though we are spiritual and not religious. These have started spiritual traditions forever. So when I ring the bowl, and it takes a minute to really get it going, maybe you can experience yourself moving into a more receptive and open consciousness for the time that we get to spend with each other, having a holy moment and a sacred and spiritual tradition. So I am going to move to the side or the back so you can hear this. And people try to bang on these all the time, and Donna Seal will tell how quickly I reprimand somebody, because that stops energy. And we want it to be a flowing, continuous, creating force, as it always was.
And now we continue with another opening ritual when I will light the candles that represent the law of divine order. Mind, idea, and expression. And this is a law by which all things come into being. We align our thoughts with divine mind. We are inspired with divine ideas, which through our words and actions and thoughts we express into the world. And if you're ever struggling with a problem or decision, it's very strengthening and comforting to think that the solution, the answer already exists in divine mind, and it's just yours to open yourself to divine ideas and allow the answers to flow through you.
Thank you for this day, Spirit, thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, Spirit, thank you for this day. This healing, this healing, this healing day. This healing, this healing, this healing day. Thank you for this day, Spirit, thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, Spirit, thank you for this day. This beautiful, this beautiful, this beautiful day. This beautiful, this beautiful, this beautiful day. Thank you for my friends, Spirit, thank you for my friends. Thank you for my friends, Spirit, thank you for my friends. My wonderful, my wonderful, my wonderful friends. My wonderful, my wonderful, my wonderful friends. Thank you for this day, Spirit, thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, Spirit, thank you for this day. This beautiful, this beautiful, this beautiful day.
And now please join me in affirming our prayer of intention. Living Spirit opens our minds, opens our hearts, touches us all deeply with love, and sends us out as agents. Agents of love, agents of peace, agents of justice. Amen. All right, let's send our beautiful children out as agents of love as they go to Sunday school. And we'll see y'all in a little bit. Oh my gosh, we've got a crowd today. Have fun. Well, there goes half the congregation. So now please join me in affirming our statement of being and our vision and mission statements. There is only one presence and one power active in the universe and in my life, God, the good, omnipotent. Centered in God, we co-create a world of love, peace, and abundance. We are a thriving spiritual community, inspiring and empowering individual and global transformation as exemplified by the life and teachings of Jesus.
Today's daily word is loving. Just as the sun shines on everyone and everything, I am a loving presence to everyone I meet. My kind words, my welcoming smile, and compassionate actions all spring from the love that is part of my divine identity. Being a loving presence draws me closer to God and to all people. I want to share the love I have known throughout the seasons of my life, at heights of triumphs and joy, and the depths of loss and suffering. God is love, and so am I. No matter who I meet or what they're going through, I am loving. I bring support, kindness, solace, and comfort, and share them lavishly without thought of reciprocity. I am the hands and heart of God in the world. Owe no one anything except to love one another, for the one who loves another has fulfilled the law. Romans 13:8. Today's affirmation is, I am a loving, caring presence. Please repeat it twice with me. I am a loving, caring presence. I am a loving, caring
presence. Peace in my life is growing because I choose love. Love's always present, is what I'm made of. I choose love. We are a part of each other. We are one tie that binds us that can't be undone. I choose love. Peace in my family is growing because I choose love. Let love be present It's what I'm made of. I choose love. We are a part of each other. We are one. One love and family, sharing one son. I choose love. Peace for our planet is growing because I choose love. Let love be present, it's what I'm made of. I choose love. We are all part of each other. We are one. One choice unites us. Let this be the one. I choose love. I choose love. I choose love.
So now, as we become still and centered and open in prayer, we just relax into this moment. We're grateful for all who are gathered here today to join as a spiritual community grounded in love and acceptance. And this is a place where it comes naturally and easily for us to see the Christ in each other and to allow our own Christ nature to guide us. And then when we leave this sanctuary to return to our homes and communities, we carry the light of God's presence with us. And we allow it to shine in every situation and on every person we meet. We are emissaries of light, and God is healing our world now through our loving, courageous words and actions. And now we bring into our circle of light any person or situation that you may be holding in prayer today, either by saying it aloud or simply holding it in your heart. Let's close our time of prayer by singing together an ancient prayer, one that affirms that God's presence is here now on earth as it is in heaven, the Lord's Prayer.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And leave us not in temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever.
It's nice to be up here hearing you sing. You sound like the Mormon Tabernacle Choir. So this past week, as I looked at some of the amazing, breathtaking images that were sent back from space on the Webb telescope, the words to an old hymn just came to my mind, and you probably all know this one. When I, in awesome wonder, consider all the worlds thy hands have made, I see the stars, I hear the rolling thunder, thy power throughout the universe displayed. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee, how great thou art, how great thou art. And that's a beautiful old hymn, but what struck me is that the writer of those lyrics was feeling the same awe and amazement as I did at the beauty and complexity of our universe. But there was a difference in how he saw God. He imagined God as a being with superhuman powers who created worlds and then manipulated them according to his will. Whereas I, like many other New Thought students, envisioned the entire universe as being permeated with God. And in the pictures of stars being born and dying 13 billion years ago, I see the workings of a divine order and intelligence that underlies everything, the one presence and one power that we choose to call God. That presence is vast, limitless, and unfathomable, yet at the same time, it's as close and intimate as our own heartbeat. It's a mystery. It's a great mystery. And people who know me well have probably heard me say at one time or another that my worst fear is ever of myself becoming a true believer. Because in my mind, that means someone who has their mind made up, they think they have it all figured out, and they know what's true with a capital T, and they've closed their mind to everything else. And I want to keep my mind open. I want to be a spiritual adventurer. I want to keep exploring ways to deepen my understanding of God and the universe. So if the images sent back from space over the past weeks tell us anything, it's that God and how God works isn't something that we can simply explain between the covers of a book that was written over 2,000 years ago. There's so much more. And knowing God and learning to live in the presence is a journey that may take a lifetime, and possibly many lifetimes. So we say with a song, we affirm how great thou art, and we open our minds and hearts to allow God to reveal that greatness to us as we continue to grow and evolve spiritually. So now as we take some deep breaths and become centered, prepare ourselves for meditation, I invite you just to be open to allow yourself to continue to learn and grow and allow God to show how God works in your life and in the universe to you very personally here and now as we go into the silence together. Now, as we gently begin to turn our attention back to the sanctuary, Dan will sing a meditative song for us.
There is only love. There is only love. Love that heals me. There is only love.
Let me see if I quietly move this. I want to thank, before I get started, I want to thank Maria and Van there for all the work you guys have been doing to get us, because you know we're live on YouTube. YouTube? How you doing? YouTubers. So thank you for all the hard work, and we're still, that's why I'm doing all this, we're still in the process of trying to adjust both audio-wise and visually, like, well, it doesn't look quite right, and so that's why I'm making some changes here. So I've told you before that there was a couple that used to come down to Unity RGV when I was down there, and they were from Canada, and they would come down every winter. But once they passed 80, they said, we can't come down anymore because, you know, they have to get insurance, health insurance and all this other stuff when they cross over to come over. And they had gotten, once you pass 80, it's like, they needed like 10 grand for 6 months or something. They said, yeah, nah, forget it, we're not doing it. So but anyway, she's always been sending me these jokes, and this is the part of the service why I introduced that. Laughter is the best medicine. And I had been looking for this joke for a while because she had given me some time back, and I couldn't find it, and I finally found it. So I'm really excited to share it with you. It says, finally, a politically correct, truly Canadian story. So each Friday night after work, sun, snow, or rain, Jack, being a newfie, which I guess a newfie is somebody from Newfoundland, being a newfie, would fire up his outdoor grill and cook a moose steak. But all of Jack's neighbors were Catholic, and since it was Lent, they were forbidden to eat meat on Friday. The delicious aroma from the grilled moose steaks was causing such a problem for the Catholic faithful that they finally went to talk to the priest, and the priest came over and visited Jack and suggested he become a Catholic. So after several classes and much study, Jack attended Mass, and as the priest sprinkled holy water over him, he said, you were born a Protestant, you were raised a Protestant, but now you are a Catholic. So Jack's neighbors were very, very delighted and that this had happened, this conversion, that is until the next Friday, where once again the wonderful aroma of moose steak filled the air. The priest was called immediately by the neighbors as he rushed over into Jack's yard, clutching a rosary, prepared to scold him. He stopped and watched in amazement. There was Jack, standing there with some holy water, sprinkling it on the moose, and he says, you was born a moose? You were raised a moose? But now you is a codfish.
Oh, God.
I thought that was hilarious. Boy, I tell you. There's ways to get around everything. I want to thank Therese for that spiritual practice you just did right now, because, you know, that's what I've been talking about for a month, and I'm going to wrap it up today, about this expansion. Yeah, the people who wrote those words did have this certain awness, amazement of the universe, but they had no clue just how big it really is. Nor do we, because even that is relative, what we have learned and what we understand. So today's lesson is called Birthing a Greater Reality. Now I want you to take a deep breath and just close your eyes and bring in that idea, birthing a greater reality. Think about the idea of bringing a higher form of manifestation into this world. Sometimes we refer to it as heaven on earth, right? And so you question, is such a thing possible? And I say, well, it's not only possible, it is inevitable. And the book says, for the absolute to unfold into the relative, to recognize that humanity itself is a conscious expression of the absolute, and that ultimately all that exists is an expression of that absolute. So it's a matter of getting ourselves in alignment with this higher energy. Musically speaking, it's getting in tune with it. And this has been the point of the last 4 lessons, to understand that in spite of appearances, that everything is moving up and everything's moving forward, because that is the nature of life. That is what it does. Now, as I was writing that, I caught myself, sometimes you catch yourself, like, I said something that takes me backwards. I said, that heaven on earth is inevitable, because that suggests that it doesn't exist here and now. And so we say that all things exist here and now. And what we really need to do, and I came up with this thought back in the 70s when I was taking electronics, is you just need to change the channel in this infinite cable TV that we call life. Change the channel. Shift your consciousness is what we're doing. But it's good when you catch yourself doing that, or like when you catch yourself getting upset about something, you said, because when you start catching yourself, then you realize that you're moving forward because you're aware of the limitation that you just said or did. Scripture tells us that all things are possible with God, and and quantum physics calls this the many worlds theory. In the Gospel of John, when Jesus was asked about the harvest, when will the harvest come? And one of them said, in 4 months. And Jesus says, 4 months? Look around. The fields are white with harvest. He was saying everything's in the present. So shifting our awareness to a higher frequency is what we're trying to do, and why we come here on Sunday mornings, because when we do that together, and I was listening to Bruce Lipton this week on the way down to the valley, and he was talking about, how you break a glass with vibration, you remember the old Memorex video and all that stuff, and you do it because when you put the similar energies together, they combine and they create a much bigger energy. And that's what takes place when we come here on Sunday. And I've said that before. You can do this. You can do all the meditations, affirmations that you want at home by yourself, and that's good and well. But when you do it in numbers, it is amplified. And that's what we come here to do this. And to remind ourselves that what's going on around us is an appearance. And appearances come and go. So we need this Sunday morning spiritual workout for a time to kind of recharge ourselves, because we get back home, we turn on the TV, and here come all those negative spiritual spears coming at us that we have to try to avoid, questioning what's going on in this world, what's going on in this country. And when I said that, I said, spiritual work, Sunday morning spiritual workout, yeah. I kind of like it. I don't know, maybe we should call it a spiritual workout. Anyway, we have to remind ourselves that they are simply appearances, and we are told to judge by righteous judgment. And what is righteous judgment anyway? To me, it's like seeing through your spiritual eyes and not through your human eyes. And this is the point over and over about going to the mountain top from an elevated consciousness. And that's what I've been trying to do in these lessons, and today's as well. I'm trying to kind of take you up. Let's go to the mountaintop, and let's look from there what it looks like. Because from there, you can see where you've been, where you are, and where we're going. And that has been the topic of all these lessons so far. And it's no coincidence that in the Bible, every time there is a revelation, it's from the mountaintop, right? Moses, mountaintop. Elijah, mountaintop. Jesus, when he had that transfiguration and stuff, mountaintop. Why? Because metaphysically, mountaintop is to shift to a higher consciousness and look at things from that perspective. So hopefully that's where we're going. Now, there's 2 ways of looking at this world, paradoxically, because spiritual truths are usually about paradoxes anyway. And there's 2 planes as in a P-L-A-N-E-S, a plane, not an airplane, but a plane, you get it. One plane is horizontal, and one plane is vertical. So this is actually the metaphysical interpretation of the Bible. And I don't know if you ever, not the Bible, the cross. And I don't know if you ever heard this before. The cross represents that junction where you are moving horizontally, unfolding, but yet you have the vertical aspect that's always there. That one's constant. And the other one is moving. So that point in the center represents where you are spiritually in this balance between the vertical consciousness and the horizontal consciousness. I kind of like it. And the book tells us, this is the book, by the way, Birthing a Greater Reality by Unity Minister Robert Brumet. And he tells us that what we need is a vertical shift in awareness. That the human biological evolution has ceased, essentially, over 100,000 years ago. And some 50,000 years ago, the shift started to be not a change in evolution biologically, but a change in evolution consciously. That's where the change is going on. And if you're familiar with a book by Greg Braden, it's called Human by Design, he says the same thing, that the change that we're doing now is consciousness. We're not evolving as a species anymore. We've kind of peaked out, and Lipton talks about that too. I think I told you once that at the beginning when the cells, there were singular cells, they reached out a max point. And that's as big as they could get, the cell. So in order for them to progress forward, what they had to do was combine with other cells and combine their wisdom, combine their energies. And it basically results in a quantum leap of a change. And that's where we are, according to all the leading edge thought, we are at that point that we are beginning to unfold, and that's what I'm talking about today. Reverend Smith, in the previous book, he says, we are baby divinities who have an infinity of growing to do. And I kind of like that, baby divinities. And I told you last week that 3/4 of the population, I was talking about stages where we are, the tribal stage, the warrior stage, traditional, da-da. Well, 3/4 of the population is still has not passed the traditional stage that ended 500 years ago. The spiritual thought is basically in the medieval times. And we had a chance to go to a funeral this week, and when you do that and you talk to people, and I just, and again, it's not, one level is not higher than the other. It's not about that. It's just about different stages of where you are. And you're reminded, we talk in a very elevated consciousness. And then you're exposed to that, realize that, wow, that's just very different. Again, it's not critical, but it does remind you that 3/4 of the population that's where it is. So that we need to work on these things. And the book says that spiritual unfolding happens one person at a time. And while that is true, I think we reach thresholds where we take these quantum leaps together as a humanity. And we call this a race consciousness. Who has heard of the 100th monkey idea? Yeah? Oh, some of you have. Very good. 100th monkey. I'll come right back to that in a minute. It's not in the book, but race consciousness, which is kind of similar, is. And he refers to our good friend, Father Pierre Teilhard de Chardin, because, he's the one who says we're spiritual beings having a human experience. Father Pierre lived relatively recently ago, 1880-something, 1950-something, and he was a paleontologist and a priest. And he, like Galileo and all these other guys, was said, by the Vatican, remember I told you about if you're in trouble with the Vatican, you're in good shape? They told Father Pierre, you will not publish these things, sir. And he did not until he passed away, his family. This is his opus, Father Pierre, The Phenomenon of Man. He was a pretty bright guy. And he said that there is this thought energy field that he referred to as a noosphere, N-O-O sphere, noosphere, that surrounded the earth. And it's like a race consciousness. And then, of course, there is a biosphere, and I heard Dr. Lipton talk about a biosphere. You probably know what it is more than I do. But it's the form, not the form, and the other one's the thought, this one's the form. And he says that the leading edge evolution that's taking place now is not in the biosphere, it's in the noosphere, it's in the thought. So the 100th monkey idea is this, and it goes back and it says, I'll read it for you. The following is a story based on research with monkeys on a northern Japanese island, and its central idea is that when enough individuals in a population adopt a new idea or behavior, there occurs an ideological breakthrough that allows this new awareness to be communicated directly from mind to mind. Whoa. And without the connection, no external connections. And then all the individuals in the population simultaneously or spontaneously adopt it. They all become aware. It becomes, so some know it, then all of a sudden, enough of them know it, then they all know it. It's kind of strange. And he says it may be that when enough hold something to be true, then it becomes true. So the 100th monkey phenomena refers to sudden, spontaneous, and mysterious leap of consciousness achieved. Keep that idea in mind. When enough of us change how we see things, it'll all change at some point, and it's coming. So, how many are familiar with this is like an actual hands-on or whatever example, with the 4-minute mile. Are you familiar with the story of the 4-minute mile, right? Okay. They started keeping track of the 4-minute mile like in 1880, what was it, 1886. And nobody could break the 4-minute mile. Nobody. We finally got to the point, right, well, it's just not humanly possible. And the heck with it. It's a physical barrier. It took 65 years, in 1954, to break the 4-minute mile. Guess how long it took to break it again? It wasn't 65 years. It was 2 months. 2 months. And since then, the book said, what I looked up, it says that as of 2021, it has been broken 1,663 times. So now a 4-minute mile is just like standard. You know, if you can't do that, then you got no business here, running track, whatever. But here's the question. It begs the question, was it physically impossible to run the 4-minute mile? Obviously not. So what was it? It was a mental barrier that we had in our mind consciously that it couldn't be done. And now that it has been done, like that barrier has been broken. It no longer exists. Now, let me pose you another question. What other mental barriers might we have in our consciousness? Can you imagine? How about moving a mountain? How about walking on water? Oh, you can't do that. How can you possibly do such a thing? How can you possibly break a 4-minute mile? If we're not evolving physically, so it wasn't a physical evolution, it was a mental evolution. And that's kind of interesting. And we hear about these miraculous feats all the time. That a woman was in an accident and the other person somehow is trapped under the car, and she will, a little woman, 125 pounds or whatever, will pick up the car to get the person out. This has been known to happen. This is not made up stuff. And if it can happen once, then can it happen again? Again, what's the limitation? In Unity, what do we talk about all the time? The limitations are the ones that we have in our heads. And we must remove these barriers, man-made barriers, self-made barriers. It says that you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. Well, what truth is that? I have a saying. I have several sayings. This is one of mine. I say, what truth could possibly set you free other than the truth that you are free? Simple as that. That's the truth that you knew. The rock band, the Eagles, feel the same way. They say, so often it happens that we live our lives in chains and we didn't even know that we have the key. A song's called Already Gone. It's an awesome song. Maybe we should do it someday, Dan. Already Gone. We already released ourselves. So what could be the difference then? It would be a shift in consciousness. And that's what I've been talking about the entire month, a vertical shift in awareness, coming up to a higher. What about world peace? Is that possible? Nah, come on, we can't do world peace, really? Can we? Maybe we can. Maybe the problem is here. Maybe the problem is, what did we say in our, I didn't say it today, but in our welcome. We envision a spiritually transformed, peaceful world. Wow, what a thought that is. A spiritually transformed, peaceful world. And what actually holds us back from manifesting that? What is it? A vertical shift in awareness. And so, let me share you an aha moment I had one time. I was thinking, when you look around this crazy world, I said, next time I come into another world, I want to live in a peaceful world. And then I just heard something in my mind, but you have lived in a peaceful world. I think that is true. My entire life, I told you I've never owned a gun. I've never been in a fight. I've never struck anybody. In my whole life, I've lived in a peaceful world, in spite of the fact that there are, as they say, wolves dressed in sheep's clothing around us everywhere. But that's not the point. The point is I want to live in a world where everybody lives in a peaceful world. And I appreciate that I do, I have, but I'd like to see the bigger picture of that. So, and remember what I told you that Charles Fillmore, Unity co-founder, says we're living in our consciousness all the time. So we say that in order to do that, you need to, if you want to be loved, then be love. If you want to have a friend, then be a friend. Be that which you want to be. That's the only way. I'm going to wrap this up because the whole thing started on the 4th of July with this lesson. Because I'm looking around saying, what is going on in this crazy country of ours? What is it with all this division? I thought it said, united we stand and divided we fall. Doesn't it say that somewhere? Don't we kind of need to work on that? And we do. And we all do need our part to do that. And the encouraging thing is that the German philosopher Nietzsche wrote, it takes chaos to give birth to a star. That's an interesting idea. And we're being told that the time is ripe for this quantum leap. It's getting close. It's very, very getting close. So I have my own analogy about this that I came up with, and it's this. When we signed up to come to planet Earth, hey, there's a train going to planet Earth, who wants to go? I'll go. Well, when we did, we were given a certain gear. And in the military, it's called government issue. That's what GI means, government issue. Well, we were given a compass and a flashlight to come here. And the compass has served for us to find where true north is. But see, most people haven't had the curiosity to look in the duffel bag and what's in there, what was I issued? Into our minds, not our duffel bags, into our minds. And so the compass is to help aid you with true north. And the flashlight is to help you because we knew we're coming into a dark, spiritually dark world. And so you got your little flashlight. And when you figured out you had it, you turned it on. And some light was shown. And then Therese she turned her light on. And Ann turned on her light. And Kathy turned on her light. And everybody starts turning on their lights. And when enough lights are on, then even the people who don't have their lights on can see. That's my analogy. I kind of like it. And it's true. And that's what the 100th monkey is saying, that's what's taking place. When enough of us see things this way, everything's going to change for everybody, even the ones who don't have their lights on. Been talking about Ken Wilber. He was actually in the cover of the magazine, Unity magazine, March, April 2022, recently. And they asked him about this stuff, this craziness. And he says, when a leading edge becomes approximately 10%, remember I told about 3/4 or back there, wherever, Middle Ages? When the leading edge becomes approximately 10% of the population, there is a shift, a tipping point. And that point will bring us together and it'll spread throughout the entire world when only 10% of us see a bigger picture. And so he says that the polarization, he says, yeah, things are very polarized. But that's part, because I told you about the different stages, they all have their upside, they all have their downside. Well, the downside of the postmodern stage is polarization, because we're not thinking, because we're free to express ourselves and have our own beliefs, so it causes this sort of polarization. But he said that's just the downside of it. That's okay. We're going to get past that whole thing. It might be that chaos giving rise to the star or something. And he said, when they asked him, well, where are we now in this development? He said we're somewhere between 5 and 8% in his mind. So we're getting close. We're getting close. And the major transformation is coming. The age of Aquarius, we've been talking about this since way back when. Something new coming. Something new is coming. We did that song. The times are changing. I don't know if you were here to hear that, but we did that recently. And here's the funny thing. It's always the same subject. It's called spiral dynamics. So we talked a little bit about it, right? And so you keep seeing the same issues over and over, and our development is going this way. We're spiraling. So, but when you see something for the second or third or 100th time, and you're up higher in your consciousness, then you see it differently. And suppose that maybe before you would get mad at somebody, it would take you a year to get over it. Some people it takes longer, but let's say it took you a year to get over it. And then now you're to the point where 5 minutes, whatever, I'm done with it. And so we get better at it. And so the point is we keep seeing the same thing, and this is the same idea. But here's the idea. It's the promised land. The promised land. But it's not a land, it's a new consciousness. That's the promised land. So that's kind of an interesting. And for me, the promised land from a new consciousness cannot happen soon enough. So I bless you, and I have a wonderful week. All right? I've even got one of my cousins looking at YouTube the other day. Well, he's Rosemary's cousin, but he's still my cousin. Now comes a time in our service where we pledge our tithes and offerings to our spiritual center. Let's take our gifts in our hands, and together we say, divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I give in love, and I trust God. We'll bring the children back in.
Everything I see, everything I do is blessed by your hand, God. I'll give it back to you. Everything I give, every thought that's true is magnified and kind, God. I'll give it back to you.
them to manifest that love into our community and into our world. Now we bring the children back. Come on in, guys. And talk to us. What did y'all do? Anybody want to say anything? Is it it? No? Okay. No, I understand. That's fine. In that case, we will bless the children at this point. Say, we love you. We bless you. We appreciate you. Today's reminder that Teresa, I believe, is our prayer chaplain. Yes. And a blessing to Teresa because she was close enough to that fire yesterday. She got a call and said, "You're on standby officially. Move it out." So she's fine, and everything worked out. No, I know, and that's great. Okay, do you want to say something now? Or?
God's people, us, to trying to give us everything we needed, and okay, and we, the people, just kept complaining and complaining, and. And they just kept trying to give us what we wanted, and we would not stop complaining until, what the story said, we reached the border of God's land, and that's when we stopped complaining. Like the moment we reached that,
It was
and
sort of like when you take a road trip.
it's like kids on a road trip, just complaining. Are we there yet? Are we there yet? I'm hungry. We're hot.
Yeah, but we need to stop and take note of all the beauty that's around us while we're on our journey and be grateful for all the blessings that God provides for us.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Very good. Thank you. So let's stand and close with our peace song.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as creator, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be our joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
The light of God surrounds us. I am the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. I am the love of God. The power of God protects us. I am the power of God. The presence of God watches over us. I am the presence of God. Wherever we are, God is, I am, and all is well. Have a blessed week. Oh, we're going to start in a little bit. So hang around. You can mingle or do